I know what it feels like to be so hurt and so like that gut-wrenching to the core pain that feels like it's gonna kill you. The only thing you can do is bottle up in a fetal position and cry yourself to sleep and hold yourself. I know what it feels like when it feels like your broken heart is literally going to kill you. I know what it feels like when it doesn't feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I know what it feels like when it feels like the whole world is crushing you and nobody can fucking understand. Nobody gets it. Nobody can feel what it feels like to be you. I know what it feels like to feel like it's never going to end, that your life is going to be like this for the rest of your life. But I am here to tell you that it's not going to be like that. That it is a light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it's not tomorrow, even if it's not next week, even if it's not in a few months, it will happen. But you have to fight for your life. Hey guys, welcome back to Live, Love, Life, and Travel. This is your girl Shamika. Welcome back. And today is going to be a bit of a serious video. I wasn't actually going to talk about this until later, but I just came to realize that maybe a week or so ago was National or Worldwide Suicide Prevention Day. And so I thought since that day has come and passed, I would talk about suicide in general, my thoughts on it, and also just share my own story. So it's a bit of a story time video about my own suicide attempts. As you guys might or may not know, that I used to struggle severely with depression, and also I was severely mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and whatever, abused for the majority of my childhood. And so I'm not going to go into the deep details and nuances of my suicide attempts in this video anyway, but just to let you guys know, FYI, I am about to publish a series of books very shortly, and so if you want to know the details about my childhood and just how I got over the depression and anger and resentment and sadness, all that stuff, like how I got to the point where I am traveling, feel free to download the books if you like, and it would be a lot more detailed, because it's hard to be really detailed when making YouTube videos because they would be like an hour long. So let me just jump into my story and then I'll talk about suicide. So the first time I technically tried 3 times, but I'm only gonna count 2 because the second one was like it was just me feeling sorry for myself. But the first time I tried, I was a teenager and I was still living home with my mom, and she decided a great punishment for me would be to lock me in a closet for like a week. And so this was the first day I was locked in the basement closet, and she let me out a few times to walk the dog, or to let the dog out to use the bathroom, because my dogs are really great judges of character, and he wouldn't let my mother near him. I was the only one to be able to let him out. My little sister was too young at the time, so she let me out briefly to take the dog out, our little Chow Chow. And so on the way out, I grabbed a bottle of Pine Sol from the kitchen, under the kitchen sink, and then a bottle of aspirin from the half bathroom on the basement landing, right as I'm going outside. And so when I got outside, and as my dog was doing his business, I just took handfuls of aspirin. I don't think I took the whole bottle, but I took a lot. Like I took a giant handful of aspirin, and I just started chugging the Pine Sol. And I chugged as much as I could. I don't think I finished it, but I drank a lot of it. And then I went back into the house, and I went back into my closet, and as soon as the door was shut and as soon as I sat back down in the dark closet, I like projectile vomited like all over the place. And so I didn't die, thank God, because the stuff didn't have any time to actually sit in my system, because as soon as, a minute after I did it, it was out of my system basically. And I felt really sick after that for the rest of the day, and I think I threw up a couple more times. I never told anybody. I never told my mother, and I cleaned up the vomit like months later when the summer came and it started to smell, and my mom was like, "What is that smell?" So I think that first suicide attempt was really me trying to escape my pain and my misery and the abuse and just a severe cry for help. And so then the second time I tried to commit suicide was when I just turned 20, and my first year living in LA, when I first moved out on my own, my first time in LA, I was all by myself, and I was my first time being an adult. And I think within like a few months of me being in LA, I got myself into a relationship with a guy, and he ended up basically beating me. Like, he basically beat the crap out of me, and it wasn't an abusive relationship. It wasn't like throughout the whole relationship. It was pretty much the end of the relationship where he beat the crap. He just beat me up, and it's a story behind that, and I'll talk about that story another time. Not that I'm saying I did something wrong, but at the time he was high on something, and he just beat the crap out of me. And it was literally like a few days after he told me he loved me for the first time, and I believed him. And that was like the hardest thing. That was so hard for me to have to deal with. And you would think that maybe it wouldn't be, because I just spent my entire childhood getting beat on a daily basis. But I think it was because it was the betrayal more than anything. I felt extremely betrayed, and I felt really confused. Like, how can someone say they love me one day and then beat the crap out of me the next day? I felt disgusted. I remember wanting to like scrub my skin under like a steaming shower, because I had sex with you. I gave my body to someone who can hurt me like that. And I told him, he knew everything about my childhood. I told him, like, I think he was the first person I really just like really told everything to, that I really revealed everything, that I was the most vulnerable with, the first person in my whole life. And he would tell me so many times how it made him so mad, the thought of what my mom did to me, and that he would protect me, and that he loved me, and that he would never hurt me the way she did. So the fact that he not only hurt me, but he hit me, which is what she used to do amongst other things, it was just like the strongest sense of betrayal. I think that was what I was more upset about than him actually hitting me. It was just the betrayal. And there was a police investigation, and because of the way he hit me, there wasn't a lot of physical evidence, because I have darker skin. It's harder for us to bruise, but he was punching me in the back of my head and kicking me in the ribs, and so it was very hard to see, especially immediately. And the only thing I had was like a bloody lip. But anyway, so if you know anything about the cops in Long Beach, it's a little bit better now, but the cops in Long Beach are really racist, and he was white and I'm black, and so they just sort of took his side and didn't even care to even like listen to a word I had to say. So it was like him hitting me, the betrayal, and then him lying to the cops. And he would always talk about like how racist the Long Beach cops were, and he's such against racism, and then he used him being white to his advantage against me. So and maybe if I was white, he would have lied about it too, I don't know. But he knew that he had a better chance of getting away with it, because he knew that the cops in Long Beach were really racist. Not all the cops, but it was a thing. And so that was really, really hard for me to deal with and go through. And I remember feeling such anger. Like, that was the first time and the last time I've ever felt that type of hate towards anybody. And to the point where it like literally scared me. I didn't like the way I was feeling, but I would go back and forth from feeling like this immense heartache and pain to this rage and this hate, where I would sit in bed and think about all the ways that I can hurt him. I even had people offer to help, but I turned it down. And if you've ever battled with severe depression, and if you also have had traumatic experiences throughout your life, what can happen is like every time somebody hurts you, it's not just that hurt you're dealing with. All the past hurt and all the hurt that's ever been done to you all kind of comes rushing back, especially if you haven't like specifically dealt with the past pain or traumas, or if you're not fully healed from it, or if you haven't fully forgiven the people who've hurt you in the past. A lot of that stuff comes back and compiles on top of the thing that's hurting you in the present. So it wasn't like me just dealing with this hurt and this pain and this anger that my ex-boyfriend had dealt on me, but it was also like now I had to just like thinking about all the abuse that I had to deal with my mother. Like, so it just all kind of just came to a clashing, like, this is too much. I can't do this anymore. And I remember like specifically thinking like, I give up, you win life, you win, I'm done, like I can't do this anymore. Like if this is what life is, if this is all just hurt and pain, I'm out. Like I mentally was checked out. So like the first time I tried to commit suicide, it really was me just in so much pain and wanting to escape and to cry for help. The second time was really me like mentally making a decision going, I'm done, I'm checked out, I don't want to try this anymore. And a lot of times, like a lot of people have said to me that, oh my god, you're so strong, and I know other people who've had this said to them too, because they've been through a lot and they're still surviving, they're still winning. And people always are like, you're so strong, but you don't understand, like people get tired of being strong. Like people just get tired of that. They're like, I'm done, I just want to not try it anymore. So anyway, I made a mental decision to like, I'm done, I'm checking out. I wrote a little suicide note basically saying what I just said to you, and I went across the street. I bought a whole box of sleeping pills and like the cheapest bottle of vodka that I can find, because I was a college student and I was broke and poor, and it wasn't like prescription grade sleeping pills, but yeah, a whole box. And I went back to my little room with my air mattress on the floor, and I took every last sleeping pill and I chugged the bottle of vodka. I don't know if I drank all of it, but I probably drank most of it anyway. And I laid down and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave this reality. And I remember feeling myself like slipping away, and I could have just been falling asleep, but I also could have been slipping away. And I remember like laying there halfway barely lucid, and when I heard my cell phone ring, or my landline. I think I had a landline. It was the first and last time I ever had a landline. And I answered. I remember thinking like, should I answer the phone or should I just let myself go? But for some reason I felt urged to answer my phone. So I answered my phone, and hello. And it's kind of hard to talk about this part because the person who spoke to me that day is no longer with us, and she recently passed away, and she was a very, very important part of our family. And she was a really spiritual woman. She was a little bit religious for my taste, but spiritual altogether. And when I first ran away from home, she was a part of like that trio that really helped me survive. It was my godmother, who I call mother today. It was her, and it was God. So that was my trio of people who helped me survive when I first ran away from home. So she called me, and she just said on the other end that she just felt an urge to call me. And she just started talking, and she knew that I had just went through the thing with my ex-boyfriend. So she just started saying really encouraging things like, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you can make it through this, you're strong, you're powerful, you can beat this, God loves you. And she started praying for me. And then like as she was talking, I can feel myself like energized, and like start to think like, wow, what the fuck am I doing? Like, no, like I'm gonna like take my life over some dude? Like fuck that. Yes, it was more complicated than like just killing myself over some guy, but like she finished talking, and when she was done, we hung up. And once that conversation was over, I felt like this new motivation for life and this new perspective of what was going on. And once I hung up the phone, like once I hung up the phone, I didn't even feel tired. I didn't even feel sleepy. I didn't even feel drunk. Even after the whole bottle of vodka, even after all the sleeping pills, I just had all this energy and all this motivation and all this like happiness to like, I want to fucking live. I don't want to die. There is no way. This is my life, and I need to fight for it. And I remember just jumping up. I got some food, and my whole perspective on the whole situation changed. I was no longer angry with him. I felt so bad for him. Like, you did this to me, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life. You have to look yourself in the mirror and know what you did for the rest of your life. You were so a man of principle, and you broke every principle that you've ever told me you stood for, and you have to deal with that for the rest of your life. I'm not saying that people should live in shame and guilt for the rest of their lives, but that's something that he has to deal with. I'm now have to deal with that, and I'm amazing, and you can't take that away from me. And that's how I felt after that. I saw him again one time when we had to do a restraining order, and I remember us standing at in front of the judge, and he was telling his lies still, but he was literally trembling. Like, he was shaking, his whole body was shaking, and his voice was shaking. And I stood there with my head held high, standing up straight, and I was just like, look how pathetic you are. And so that my friend, is my suicide stories.
I got bigger plans. I'm trying to tour the world while she's making dinner plans. I'd love to stick around.
So the reason why I share my life with anybody in any capacity, it is to help others. It is not for a sympathy vote, a sympathy card. I don't want people to pat me on the back. I don't want people to hold me up to a higher standard or anything like that. I'm no better than you at all. Like, anybody could have, anybody can fight for their lives. Anybody can fight for their happiness. My point of sharing these stories with you is to encourage other girls, to encourage other men to, if, like, I know what it feels like to be so hurt and so, like, that gut-wrenching to the core pain that feels like it's gonna kill you. The only thing you can do is bottle up in a fetal position and cry yourself to sleep and hold yourself. I know what it feels like when it feels like your broken heart is literally going to kill you. I know what it feels like when it doesn't feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I know what it feels like when it feels like the whole world is crushing you and nobody can fucking understand. Nobody gets it. Nobody can feel what it feels like to be you. I know what it feels like to feel like it's never going to end, that your life is going to be like this for the rest of your life. But I am here to tell you that it's not going to be like that. That it is a light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it's not tomorrow, even if it's not next week, even if it's not in a few months, it will happen. But you have to fight for your life. So please, with all my heart, don't kill yourself. If you're watching this video and you feel like this, it can get better and it will get better, but you have to fight for it and you have to believe that it can get better. You are worth it. You are so important. You are so loved. You are so amazing. You are so beautiful. Don't let anybody who've done anything to you win by allowing yourself to get to that point where you don't want to live anymore. You know, like, I'm gonna cry because, like, I know what it feels like to be there. I've been there. I've been hurt so many times, and I've battled with, like, severe depression, and you know, that was the first and last time I've ever tried to kill myself, but it wasn't the last time I ever thought about it. And so I know what it feels like, and I know sometimes when people try to tell you that it's gonna get better, you're just like, you don't get it. You don't understand my pain that I deal with on a daily basis. I am telling you, I get it. I totally understand. And killing yourself is not the answer. It really is not the answer. And I'm not talking about people who are chronic illnesses or in chronic pain or have diseases that they are going to die soon. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who are hurting here, that you can get there. And so right now, if you're watching this video and you feel suicidal whatsoever, get up and get help. Go to somebody that you trust. Go somebody that loves you and you love them. Go somebody that is your safe space. And even if you don't want to tell them how you feel, even if you don't want to tell them that you are suicidal, just be in their presence, because you need somebody to keep you from doing that. You need someone to remind you that you are loved and you are worthy. Call a suicide hotline. Go for a run. Go pet a kid. Go watch a movie. Go do whatever you need to do to get yourself out of that state. Because I know one of the things that a lot of depressive do, one of the things that I did, is we let ourselves marinate in that depression. We let ourselves stew in that dark place. And it's not good for you and it's not good for anybody. So if you are there, get up right now, walk away, shake it off, and move your body. So yeah, that's what I have to say. That I'm not talking about someone with a chronic physical disease, illness. I'm not talking about them, but for the majority of the time, I do not think suicide is the answer. I used to always say that for me, if I ever commit suicide, I'm pretty sure I would have immediately regretted it. I would have been floating on the top of my body going, okay, maybe that was a little rash on my end, because I know it's gonna get better, and it's just the waiting part. It's the waiting part that sucks. It's the waiting to when it's gonna get better. But it will get better. It can get better, but you have to be proactive and you have to be accountable and you have to actually fight for your life. It's not gonna get better on its own. I mean, if you're a teenager, if you're like in high school or something like that, and you're dealing with assholes in fucking high school, bullies, people who are like low mental capacity, it will get better. It really will get better. Like, I was bullied throughout my whole middle school life. Do you think any of my bullies ever succeeded in any capacity? No, they didn't. You will rise and you will be great. So don't worry about it. It's gonna get better. So that's it. I really try to make this video not so long. I'm trying to make my video shorter, but I really wanted to share that story because it's really important to me that I properly get that message across. Because suicide, if you do your research, suicide is on the rise, even though antidepressants are pumping with full force through our American blood system, through the Western blood system. But suicide is still on the rise, especially amongst young people. So it's a really important discussion to have, and like I said, if you feel this way, find a friend, talk to somebody. That's it, guys. I'm gonna go now. If you have any comments, you want to comment below. If you're brave enough, or if you want to do it anonymously, if you want to leave your own suicide attempt stories, or your own thoughts on suicide, or your own encouraging words, how you were victorious, how you went from victim to victor, please share it in this community where we all want to share. We all want to feel like this is a safe space. If you want to like this video, please like it. If you want to share this video, you think somebody can actually benefit from it, please share it. And if you want to continue to follow my journey on this beautiful game called life, please subscribe. And that's it from Live, Love, Life, and Travel. Thank you.